Ahlering, CRO at Calendly, and I am psyched to be here with all of you today to talk about what I think is every CRO's secret weapon, revenue operations. Have any RevOps peeps in this tent? I had a couple up here, I know. Exactly. And this is an important topic, because if you've been following along for the last few months, the game for all of us has changed. We're rapidly transitioning from growth at all costs to paths to profitability. And if you're a go-to-market operator, you know that this new imperative is not an either-or. It's now a yes and. Yes, you must grow, and yes, you must do so profitably. Adding to this, B2B buyer cycles continue to evolve. The game has changed again. When customers come in, when, where, and how we engage is all increasingly digital. The days of a linear, perfectly siloed approach are behind us. This is one of the many reasons that product-led growth strategies are so effective and have been taking off in the marketplace. Calendly has been a product-led growth company from its inception. Only very recently have we begun to add a sales-led motion. There are many different names for this sales-led motion. It can be called sales-led growth, product-led growth, sales assist, human-led sales. We have not decided as an industry what to call this yet, but this is when we're layering on human-based sales into a PLG company. And when you do this, revenue operations can really be the perfect complement. It creates a wealth of data. Revenue operations can help drive insights and optimize across the entirety of the customer lifecycle from PLG all the way to sales-led growth. So expectations are changing, and PLG has really flipped the funnel on its head. In many ways, the funnel is our the product is our funnel, and it is an integral part of our customers' evaluation experience. Customers in a PLG funnel need to see value, and they need to see value fast. And when you do this, you can create a number of happy users inside an enterprise organization that sparks enterprise demand. And that's what many of us are all out here chasing. But customers' expectations are, of course, changing. They're expecting a continuous, consistent process across the life cycle, from marketing to sales to customer success. And if they don't get it, they can easily fly out of your funnel and get very disillusioned. And when you think of this in the context of marrying a product-led growth motion with a sales-led growth motion, it creates a new need in your go-to-market. But of course, it's just not that simple. It sounds really easy, but it's not. Go-to-markets are increasingly complex. Go-to-markets are increasingly complex. The game has changed in terms of how you go to market. Everything from digital sales to field sales now looks and feels different. All of these different channels, functions, and teams have disparate goals, metrics, and KPIs. So to connect all of these dots, to continue to provide an exceptional customer experience, which is what all of us, of course, want to do to drive value for our users and our customers, here's my answer. Revenue operations. Revenue operations is the practice of aligning operations in an ecosystem across marketing, sales, and customer success, and sometimes even product. In some environments, that makes sense to do. And this is so important that Gartner predicts that 3/4 of the highest growing companies in the next 3 years will need to deploy revenue operations. So let's talk about how to make revenue operations work for you. Of course, everyone wants to be in the highest growing companies in the next 3 years, so let's give you a framework for how to think about deploying this. First and foremost, achieving alignment. This is the trickiest part. You absolutely have to ensure that there is agreement at an executive level that revenue operations is the spiritual owner of go-to-market productivity. This can be the trickiest, but without this alignment, the rest of what I'm about to share is a house of cards. Next, you'll need to work on building the engine. This is about building resources, capability, and horsepower in a number of different functions. The first is strategy and operations. The second is core operations. There's enablement, and there's analytics. You'll need to resource all of those functions to build the machine. And then revenue operations should really fuel a framework for measuring success. At the end of the day, this is about providing an exceptional customer experience, getting to the moments that matter with your customers quickly, and then driving profitable growth back for your business. We're going to dig into each of these three in a little more detail. First, achieving alignment, the all-elusive alignment. Often this is talked about in regard to sales and marketing, but you really need alignment across the entirety of your go-to-market to make this work. This can be the hardest, but it's the most critical and most important. And it's the most important because data tells us that when done well, this drives more revenue growth for your organization and more profitability. This has become a yes and. You must grow and you must do so profitably. And again, in the backdrop of adding a sales-led motion on top of a PLG motion, this can get pretty complex. Revenue operations at Calendly is the glue across these two motions. They drive the data, the systems, the process, and the tools to the teams that need them to execute across the entirety of the life cycle. Again, they are the glue at Calendly of our go-to-market. So how do you do this? First, you have to start at the executive level in terms of driving alignment. You absolutely must have shared agreement that you will sign up for and align to a shared set of goals, KPIs, and objectives. This is the non-negotiable of this entire operation. As a CRO, I would be remiss if I did not mention, yes, you should share a revenue target. And yes, I'm talking to you, marketing. Just kidding, marketing. But no, not really kidding. Yes, you should share a revenue target. As an example, at Calendly, our CMO, Patrick, and I share a pipeline target. We share an ARR target. Our teams collaborate and align frequently on a set of initiatives that drives progress against those targets. And then Patrick and I regularly consult and participate in the inspection of our progress against that shared target. So alignment is absolutely critical. Revenue operations facilitates this alignment internally for us. And then further, they work to define a shared set of definitions across the buying lifecycle. A couple examples of this. Have sales and marketing at your organization agreed on what the definition of an MQL is? Do you have a service level agreement that's been agreed upon at the executive level for how fast and how quickly sales should follow up on those MQLs? Do you have agreement on what the ideal customer profile is and what the scoring methodology should be for companies that will have the highest propensity to buy from you and to grow? Those are all examples of what revenue operations can work to define. And once they define them, revenue operations can act as the objective owner of accountability to those metrics. And that objectivity is really important when it comes to revenue operations. They should be trusted by the other functions in your company, other functions outside the go-to-market, like finance or like product. So if you've got exec alignment, you've got shared definition of goals and metrics, then revenue operations can be the objective owner of truth and should be regularly reviewing our progress, this mound of data that gets unlocked through this process with all of the key functional stakeholders and driving that through rigorous review. Next, once you're aligned, you get over that big mountain, you should move to building the engine for revenue operations. My mantra at Calendly for RevOps is bigger, faster, and stronger. And this is the group, this is the part that really takes your revenue teams and makes them rev. So let's talk about the component parts of a great revenue operations team. First, there's strategy and planning. This is really the right hand of the CRO. This is the group that regularly assesses strategy, thinks through our next moves, and works on big bets. I spend a lot of time with our strategy and planning team. Then there's core operations. These are the workhorses of a revenue operations team. They work on things like workflows, process. As an example, these are things like territories, comp plans. They keep the trains running on time for a go-to-market, and they know where all the bodies are buried inside an organization. Then there's enablement. Enablement brings all of this goodness to life. They bring the strategy to life with our frontline teams. They make sure that they're ready to go and have high-value conversations with our customers, whether it's an account executive or a customer success manager. And then finally, there's analytics. These are the big brains of the operation that drive all of the powerful insights from the wealth of data that gets unlocked, particularly in a product-led growth organization, back to your go-to-market teams to make that machine run bigger and faster. Tactically, each one of these groups inside of a revenue operations unit acts as a center of excellence. They have their own set of work, their own goals, their own KPIs, but very frequently, they come together in key cross-functional initiatives. So I'm going to talk through a couple of examples of how this plays out for us at Calendly. The first is annual planning, everyone's favorite time of year, right? It's the Super Bowl for operations teams. It's where all of the functions come together to ensure that your next year is a success. How this works for us at Calendly is strategy leads the process. They kick it off, and they pair with analytics to take a look at what has our progress been for the last year? What's working, what's not? And again, what should our bets be as we move forward? Then we hand the ball off to core operations. Core operations brings this all to life in the form of, again, territories, new motions, or potentially fueling teams for new markets. Enablement then brings it to life with our teams through great training, great playbooks, and potentially enabling through best-in-class technology. The key here across all of these different handoffs is that we are coordinated across marketing, sales, and customer success, and all of this should link back to the set of shared initiatives that your execs agreed upon at the start. The second example here is a product launch. A product launch is another example of where revenue operations can really sit at the heart of a key initiative for your business. With product launches, there are almost always really high expectations in terms of the product's impact to your top line. So it's critical that it goes well. Strategy, again, kicks this process off, fueled with great analytics. This time, product marketing and product are in the mix to determine what the market size should be, what the best fit customers are, and how we should approach them. Core Ops then determines the prioritization framework. Which are the right accounts to go talk to? What are the right workflows, and how do we deploy this through great technology? Enablement, again, at the heart of fueling our frontline teams so they feel empowered to have the right value-driven discussion with the right customers at the right time, and this time in partnership with both marketing and customer success. So those are two examples of how we leverage revenue operations in this integrated approach to make key projects really successful. This can be a little tricky. As you all know, inside your organizations, you have functional owners who can get defensive about where their boundaries lie. And so part of this is to ensure that there's clear ownership of what revenue operations owns to drive success. Every business is a little bit different. I'll make an argument that I think there are a few other areas that revenue operations should own. The first is to be the brains of your go-to-market operation. To a great extent, revenue operations should drive the strategy and the prioritization of your frontline teams. Everything from making sure that they have the right dashboards, to the right flight plans, to the right key plays. RevOps should own ensuring that every account executive and every customer success manager in your company knows exactly what they should be doing when they come into work every day. The second area that RevOps, I think, should be the spiritual owner of is continuous improvement. They should have a maniacal focus on productivity and efficiency. At Calendly, I often refer to revenue operations as the low-value time waster task police. This is the stuff that AEs and CSMs just hate, and RevOps should be very focused on ensuring that they are increasingly efficient. I'll give you an example. We heard feedback from our CSM team that there was just simply too much time spent on building customer decks. Revenue operations should go and automate the deck building process for your CSMs. They should be accountable for getting rid of that low-value task and replacing it with a high-value time-back ad. So RevOps should be at the heart of a maniacal focus on productivity. They also should be at the heart of making your team stronger. So they do this through great training, great playbooks, and deploying that through great technology. This is the heart and soul of what enablement does. At Calendly, for the last few months, we've been very focused on codifying our approach to enterprise motions up market, both across sales and customer success. We're doing this through great playbooks and great training and determining what is the Calendly way that we will go to market. All of this is they're all just bricks that you have to lay as a part of your path to scale, and revenue operations, again, should be the owner of these things in your go-to-market. So bringing this back to everybody's favorite acronym, PLG. It's everybody's favorite acronym, I know, it's a hot topic. We know that the game has changed with PLG, and when you are considering adding a sales-led motion to your existing product-led motion, revenue operations can really help you to unlock enterprise value and drive science into the customer lifecycle. Like every good marriage, though, it takes work and it takes communication, but when done well, this can be a very powerful union. Revenue operations ultimately, after driving alignment and building capability, should also be responsible for determining how you think about success inside your go-to-market. So let's take a look at a few of the ways that we measure success and how we think about what good looks like at Calendly. Revenue operations, again, should be the owner of productivity, and so therefore, they should take every account executive and every CSM with the same relative opportunity and make them more productive every single year. That should be the job of revenue operations. And then when we measure that, we measure it over 1 million different metrics, as I'm sure you all do too. Thematically, we ask, are volume, velocity, and value improving? Are those getting better over time? And our RevOps team, they don't wait for QBRs. They drive rigor into our process and our business rhythm with regular inspection, and they make sure that the feedback loop is alive and well across all of the functions that exist outside of the go-to-market as well. So closing out, many of us are beginning to plan for 2023. And revenue operations can be an important part of that planning process. But remember, the game has changed. It has become yes and. Yes, you need to grow, and you need to do so profitably. I believe revenue operations can be a secret weapon in this process to help you get to the moments that matter with your customers and be a major driver of productivity for your business.